And now, to talk about our module of the week, let's bring in Martin Anderson Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, John. This week, we're going to talk about the security review module, which automatically tests for many easy to make site configuration and setup mistakes that can make a Drupal site less secure. It's a module that was originally created in 2009, but it has a 2.0.1 version, which is ready for Drupal 10, as well as supported versions that are compatible with Drupal 8 and 7. It is an actively maintained module that 2.0.1 was released earlier this year. It also has 13 open issues, 12 of which are for the 2.x branch, and only 3 of those are bugs. And those are pretty impressive numbers when you consider that the module is in use by over 23,000 websites. Now, the module was originally created by Coltrane, but the recent releases are by Stephen Musgrave, who is a core system or a core subsystem maintainer for block content, text, and telephone. Now, the module works by adding a report to your Drupal site that will identify potential security issues. For example, there are file permissions that need to be changed. There are text formats that could permit sort of a cross-site scripting. It will flag if the extensions that are allowed to be uploaded potentially have some security concerns. If maybe error reporting is on, that will disclose maybe more than it needs to, and really sort of a variety of different security related checks. It's worth noting that the module won't actually change any of those for you. So it's really just to sort of give you visibility on things that might be concerns. Also, it can be run as a drush command. So you could incorporate that into your CI/CD workflow to make sure that nothing ever gets checked in as sort of a configuration change that sort of, might introduce any security vulnerabilities. So let's talk about security review, or maybe if anybody has experience with, other solutions for sort of optimizing the security on your Drupal sites.
I write my passwords on sticky notes.
Don't do
Just
that, Joe.
kidding. Just kidding.
I really love the fact that there is a drush element to it. You said it there, automate those checks. That's something I was just at PHP Tech a few weeks ago, and that was a recurring thing of like, how do we automate security? How do we take the manual review step away? So this is an awesome module in and of itself. I love the team working on it, but that drush element, I think, is the why people should really look into it for their pipelines.
Yeah, it's a great little module. I think I need to start using it more consistently. I use it definitely in any, I, I think there's a lot of sites that, just little marketing sites that only have a couple of pages that don't use it on, but it's really a non-intrusive module that's always helpful. So I think I'm just going to make it a part of my workflow, adding it to sites. So you'll see that sites reporting using this module taking up over the next couple of weeks as I add it. But it's also one of those things where a lot of these settings sometimes on your local you'll change just to or in development you'll change just to make proof make a proof of concept or test something or find if something's broken, sometimes opening up the permissions so it works and then slowly removing them to find out what broke it is helpful. And this module can help make sure you don't forget and push that up to production. So it's a good way. If you do that drush command and you kind of store that config, you can kind of see the track record too. If you do change, even if it doesn't prevent the deploy, if something changes, you can see like, oh, we only had that setting off for a week or 2 days or something before it was noticed. So it's good for an audit trail in that case too.
The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting about I think it was in the project page, might have been in the README for the module, was that it also talks about security as sort of a process as opposed to a checklist that you sort of, look at once
Yeah.
and then forget about. So, I certainly think it's worth encouraging site owners to sort of take that mentality and approach to security as well.
Yeah, I
I think
personally like anything that gives higher visibility to this stuff for the site admins and not just the back end devs who are doing the day-to-day feature builds and stuff like that.
So this is probably a poor reason to like something like this, but I like the fact that it highlights the issues, but doesn't like force you to change anything or like make things inaccessible for you, right? Like it just says like, hey, there are issues. You should probably. It's like a suggestion as opposed to like strict rules. I think that's always nice, and I agree with Dwayne. Like you can add that to a CI/CD process. That feels pretty powerful to me.
Yeah. It's especially for some things like certain file extensions. Like there are some sites that need to be able to upload certain extensions that are generally unsafe. And if this module didn't allow you to put those, then that would be people just wouldn't use it. But one of the things that it can do is if it shows that in the report, you might be like, oh, I need to be more careful about how we handle those and validate those files before we do anything with them. The other thing I like about this particular one, which is sometimes a problem with certain security modules, is it it's generally not a security issue in itself, right? So, for example, Coder is a good module for, or back in the day, Hacked was a terrible name for a module, but a good module for doing some security checks, right? Hacked would tell you if anything had changed in core contrib. So it used to be kind of the only way to find out if there were patches on sites. And Coder would do a security evaluation of any custom code on the site. But those modules themselves required a level of access that could be a security. In fact, I remember Coder at one point had a security issue that was severe enough that it was a vulnerability if the code was just on your site, even if it wasn't enabled, which is pretty rare. So it's like I'm always careful about those types of modules and not having them. But this one, because it's just reporting on something, I think is not something you have to worry about. It's a nice little module to put on your site and review once in a while.
Awesome. Well, Martin, thank you as always for bringing us another very topical module of the week. Let's move on to our primary topic. Dwayne, you have